Alrighty, it is December. It is the end of the year. We've seen a bunch of movies this year. I think, Sam, how many films have you seen?
106.
He blew me out of the water. I think he doubled me. I had about 50 some. 106. How many did he see? What did he say?
51.
51? Yeah, so Brandon and I are about the same. And Sam just...
I didn't.
Sam,
He said he was gonna watch 100. I didn't believe him. I didn't.
It's a lot of movies.
Fucking you see, and then you see realizing that at one point is a good a quarter of them are just like Netflix, Hulu, and Amazon originals that are not even worth mentioning.
But those are still movies.
Those are still movies.
So, yeah, we're gonna do our top 10 from 10 to 1 favorite films of this year. So let's start off with number 10. You want to go first? Since you've seen the most?
Sure. Very controversial. I'm going to start
Number
with a
10.
very controversial
Here we
number
go.
10. It was a hard battle for the number 10 list. It was for the number 10 spot. It's actually going to be Blue Beetle.
Really?
Number 10.
All right.
So, of all the 10s, I understand. You already know a lot of my 10 movies in my top 10 are going to be 9s and 10s.
So what do you
But Blue Beetle is an exception because I just really love this above most superhero movies. And I say most. Just because there's a more emotional personal connection to Blue Beetle, and Hyman is such a fun character.
You call him Hyman?
I was going to say,
They call him Hyman for fun because
Did they ever call him that?
I think
because
they
did.
did.
They
did. I
The
always
white
thought it
people
was
were messing up his
peculiar.
real name, so they just called him
they
Hyman.
call him Jamie, but it's,
Amy. I like Amy better.
I don't
The
remember.
point is like
That's
that was like
That's that joke if they said Hyman. That's so funny.
the Blue Beetle is a very cool hero / anti-hero, whatever.
He's definitely not.
it was-
He's not an anti-hero. At least not in this movie.
Not in this one. It was such a cool effect with the combination of some the CGI
And
with
practical.
some of the practical. It was really cool. The fighting scenes were great. The humor was phenomenal for me, at least. I know that nobody's gonna like the farting beetle, some of the childish humor here and there, but I thought it was fun seeing Grandma murder a bunch of people.
Yeah, I'm just gonna go off that because we could all talk about it. I've seen it. Have you seen Blue
Yeah,
Beetle?
I just saw it.
I mean, yeah, I saw it recently, within the past month or so. It's not a bad film. I think the first half is just a lot better than the second half of the movie. I like the family dynamic. I like that they all know that he is the superhero, which is a different dynamic compared to, say, Spider-Man.
Mhm.
And I think it works well for the most part. There's some good, funny scenes in it. Melissa loved it. She thought it was a great movie. But I think it just kind of weakened at the end for me. And honestly, I don't remember too much of the ending as much as I do the first half of it. It's a good movie. It's a good movie. It's nothing bad, but it's nothing exceptional for me. I would like to watch a sequel if it came out. I like the lead actor. He's from Karate Kid or Cobra Kai. I think he did pretty good as Jamie Hyman or whatever. Yeah, it's not a bad film.
I liked it a fair amount. I definitely would not rate it as high as Sam did, but I did like the family dynamic. There were some good jokes. And I think the idea of how the Blue Beetle is executed in this movie is cool. I think it fails to establish the relationship between, I don't know if it's an AI, the being that is in the scarab.
Yeah.
It takes too long to do that. It
Yeah.
feels like that should have been done earlier, and they try to rush it near the end.
Anyway,
Talking too much about this.
moving on. Your top 10.
Okay, movie.
All right. Number 10 for me is Saw X.
No.
I was actually thoroughly surprised about this film. I thought it was not going to be anything great. But did you guys see it, Saw X?
Yep.
Did you see it? Yeah, I thought it was just a good movie. I like the focus on Tobin Bell, on Jigsaw himself. You actually felt sympathy for the character. Whatever the case may be, I just want to preface this by saying I don't think this was a particularly great year for a film as compared to last year, which I had a lot of films that I loved. But this Saw X definitely, I think, is more deserving than most just to be in the top 10. I think it's just a fun time. I didn't expect it to even be a C average kind of movie. It's the 10th Saw movie. Come on. But
some of the
they
traps
took.
were very innovative and iconic. Yeah, they were pretty gruesome.
I think my only complaint about Saw X is the ending. not that it was predictable. I mean, come on, we all saw it coming.
We all know.
It's fine. I didn't need to be shocked and whatnot. It's just that they left the blonde girl alive at the end. The main villain of the
Sequel
movie.
bait, maybe.
Sequel bait. No, but Saw 11 has been announced.
How much time is there unexplored in between Saw 2 and Saw 3?
I didn't think there was any time for a movie, so
I didn't think there was any time between those two. I thought the police just showed up and they're like, all right, we gotta work on this case.
Well,
A couple days later, oh fuck, we're stuck here again.
So
Yeah,
this
it's-
is between Saw 1 and 2.
Yeah, so there was time between Saw 1 and 2. Saw 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and 7 were all pretty much one after another, if I think about it, if I'm right.
Yeah, Saw 3 and 4, which I literally learned this year, take place simultaneously.
Dude. It's great.
I liked it. I think after thinking about it more, there are moments I'm laughing when I don't know if I'm supposed to be laughing because it's so silly. It's so sincere with the portrayal of Jigsaw as this sad old man.
Well, no, I think there were intentional
It
jokes.
is-
Like he's on that park bench and he's all like elated and all that, and then all of a sudden they go down and he's drawing.
He's
Jigsaw
drawing the
track.
trap and he
Trap.
throws it in the trash because he has a new lease on life. It's
I think that had to have been a joke. There's no way because they also called him out later on. They're like,
That's-
what you're doing is bullshit. Like you're not saving. You're like you are a murderer.
My least favorite part of this movie, maybe some people disagree with me, is the villain, quote unquote. I mean, she's a villain, but
I hated her.
I never thought there would be villains in like Saw movie until they started introducing people
think-
like this.
that she was okay until the end when she basically gets in the villain chair after Jigsaw gets spoilers. I guess Jigsaw gets sort of tricked, and she gets to monologue and make jokes at him, and she says a lot of really cringy and dumb things.
Yeah, she did. I the only thing though, I did like to call him out. She called him out on his ethics of it. That was the only thing.
Yeah,
Of like,
but
yeah,
like it's sort of
you are killing people.
I feel like a lot of what she said is just things Saw fans have been saying for years, and it
Yeah,
feels like
fair
it's like if you're acknowledging that this is all super silly, it's less fun. I feel like if you just play it straight, it's almost more fun.
I did like the fact they put him through his. He fought one of
That's
his
sort
own
of
traps.
why I like this movie. Is that the execution of the idea of the ending. I don't mind. It's just the execution of that character. I don't think the actress did a bad job. I just think she had
What she'd
bad
given
dialogue. And I think her resolution with the boyfriend could have been a bit cleaner. I thought it was so funny when she pulled that thing off the shelf, or when he pulled the thing off the shelf, and that was the trap, and then the Saw theme comes in. I'm like, I'm waiting for it, and I'm like, that's.
Yeah, that's probably.
It's
thought of everything.
It's simultaneously like mind blown Jigsaw trap, but at the same time, that is the dumbest thing.
I think it says a lot about this film that it's probably one of the best Saw films with the weakest plot twist. Like that's usually the best part of the movie is when that twist comes on, the music hits, and
Yeah.
you're like, oh shit!
I don't know.
That wasn't
I
in this
mean,
film.
this
Everything
movie-
leading up to it was
What
awesome.
movie is that
can't
about
really have that many twists.
You can.
Really?
So that's why I knew going into it there wasn't going to be any big twists,
Yeah.
at least for me. So that's why I was pretty okay with it.
I think this movie is really wacky and silly, and Saw fans will love it. But at the same time, there are moments that are genuinely emotional. I think a lot of stuff between Amanda and Jigsaw,
It works.
it works. It like even though these are horrible people, it puts them in a situation and shows them the light that you don't usually see them and makes them sympathetic.
A lot of people have said that this is the best Saw movie too. I don't know if I agree with it, but it's interesting.
Yeah,
it's interesting.
Probably not better than the first one.
All right, now you're at number 10.
My number 10 is Martin Scorsese's Killers of the Flower Moon. Just barely makes it into my top 10. I know some people think this movie is boring as hell. Some people think this movie is amazing. I'm sort of in between. I think it drags a bit more than other long movies I saw this year.
You're like 3.5 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just so long.
Did
But
you see it?
Mm.
Did you see it?
No, not entirely.
But even with that, and even with all these moments that are kind of slow, I think they fit. Like they're trying to fit a lot of stuff in here. I think it could have been streamlined. However, I think the performances are good. I think the story is interesting and very enlightening about what America was like in this time period. It's
Because it's based on a true story.
It
Right?
is, and I think to some extent it does portray the events accurately. I think the relationship between him and his wife Molly, played by Lily Gladstone, I think it's really compelling. Where not only do you understand how they fell in love, but also you can see how things are falling apart for both of them.
Don't spoil anything. 'Cause
Yeah.
Unfortunately for me, I
Yeah,
wanted to
I would
watch it, but
say-
it was
Yeah, I
it
won't
was
say too much. But
I didn't get a
there,
chance to.
you can see that there's a push and pull. Leonardo DiCaprio's character is sort of caught in between different members of his family, but I liked it. It kept me engaged well enough. There were a lot of like shocking like moments that just sort of come out of nowhere. It's like this very dramatic movie where sometimes there's just incredibly violent things happen very bluntly. The movie doesn't make a big deal out of it and just sort of hits you out of left field. When this movie wants you to feel a certain way, I think it does a good job of doing that. Even if there are scenes that drag and plot lines that could be cut, but overall, good movie.
Samwise Gamgee number 9,
Evil Dead
Rise.
Rise, Part 4.
Now, before you start talking about it, after we got it, we didn't see it together. We saw it around the same time. You were genuinely terrified.
Oh yeah,
when
I left
this
a
came out.
personal review after coming out of that theater because that movie had me somewhat terrified leaving the theater.
You were hot and bothered.
Yes. I was up and shaking, as the kids call it.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah, he was texting me. I was coming out of the theater. He's like texting me.
It's like, bro, I need to talk to you. Okay, this
It's like
movie's
that fucked me up.
spooky, man. Spooky. But like, to be honest, you keep watching this movie again and again.
Did you watch it more than once?
Multiple times, remember? Because then I watched it again with my family. My family thought the movie was hilarious. my mom thought it's like, this movie was not scary. This movie's just funny. So, sure, mom. And then watching it again after that, and like when they came out on streaming, it's just it loses its touch. And while it did fall gracefully from being my top 3 all the way down to 9, it loses a lot of its touch, and you start nitpicking the movie a lot. It's still beautiful. It's still a beautiful movie, right? This was great. Not like for many other things besides like that. The acting was perfect. The acting from the kids was perfect. The woman who portrayed the demon, she has a great career in this and like this kind of feel. Like,
Yeah, she was genuinely creepy at times.
like to me, still to this day, if I watch that movie and I see the cheese grater scene again, I'm always gonna be.
I saw that in the trailers, and I'm like,
Oh,
or in the one little shot in the trailers, because I tried to avoid them as best I could. And I'm like, oh no.
yeah, the cheese grater to the leg was so painful, man.
They
to
killed
watch.
kids. They killed kids.
They killed kids too. They didn't hold back. Great.
Number 9 is something that's not on anyone's list who's doing the top 10 of
Mario.
2023.
Some Mario.
No, that didn't make my list. Mario was good, but it didn't make my list.
What is it?
Adam Driver's
Oh my God!
65.
Here's the thing. Before you go to your personal review, the fact that you talk this movie so like high up, and then everybody else talks it so
here we go.
down. So defend the movie.
I will defend it. Here we go. So, the context of watching it, I was in a different environment. I was by the beach. I was doing a double feature with Scream 6 and 65. Scream 6 was great. I enjoyed that much.
We'll
And then I
get
saw
into
65, and I was like, huh. This is fun. I enjoyed 65. I was enthralled by it. There are issues with it, but every single year it seems like there is a guilty pleasure that I like that everyone else hates. Last year was Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Texas Chainsaw Massacre was awesome. This movie was a lot of fun, and I thought the CGI there was a lot of practical effects for dinosaurs too. I just was engaged with the story. I like the environment that was built. People say it's basically just a whole bunch of walking. You know what? I felt it for a little bit, but I was engaged with it from beginning to end for the most part. I liked the idea of it. I thought the meteoroid coming in at the end as a secondary issue, like they're like as a time issue now. I'm like, that was awesome. Like,
I think that's still the main issue in the entire movie.
well, because they were slowly hinted at it. I'm like, I see it in the sky. I'm like, That's the meteorite. They landed on Earth right before the dinosaurs get extinct. I'm like, that's a pretty cool time sensitive issue that they have to overcome, and I
Not
really
even that
like
is the realization that this is actually Earth, and they're not like humans from Earth. They're actually aliens that just crash landed
that's
on
a little
Earth.
weird. People would nitpick that, saying that doesn't make any sense. Like, I don't care. I like the idea of it. I thought it was a lot of fun. I was fully engaged with this movie from beginning to end, and it might be had to do with seeing Scream 6 that same day, but I really like this movie. I thought it was a lot of fun. That's all I really have to say on it. I understand why people complain about it, but I liked it a lot.
Yeah, unfortunately, it didn't make my top 10. It's still a decent movie. The language barrier is kind of hard to get used to because there's no subtitles.
That was fine.
There's no subtitles. You gotta just roll with the dice.
Their relationship was whatever.
My number 9 is something that is also not on anyone's list. I saw A Haunting in Venice. I don't remember the actors and anyone's name in it. I have not seen Murder on the Orient Express or Death on the Nile. I just saw this because I heard it was really good and has, sort of a spooky Halloween vibe while still being a really interesting murder mystery. It's a really interesting, good murder mystery. I did not know who was going to be the killer. I think it is just a great murder mystery. I'm obviously I like Scream. We'll talk about it. I think I like Scream partially because of the horror and slasher element. But this movie is mostly just regular, standard murder mystery with a few spooky ideas thrown in. It is simple, it's to the point, and I think it does everything it needs to do. It pulls it off well, it's shot well, characters are great.
My number 8, since we're talking about horror, is gonna be the Australian movie that made headways in the horror community. Talk to Me. A really great concept of possession and kind of rituals is movies, as well as just overall haunting and paranormal activity. It's fantastic. It kept me engaged the entire time about the rules.
It was neat.
It was the rules and the do's and do nots of this creepy hand that has the superpower of letting you communicate with the dead.
The superpower.
And it is a great movie. Was great. It was fantastic.
My number 8. They aren't gonna like. If anyone watches it, you won't like my
Just
list.
say it.
Never Hike Alone Part 2.
Woo!
Did you see that?
Yeah, we talked about it last time.
Oh, awesome. Did you see it? I don't think you saw it.
Because I don't count that.
It's a movie. It's a feature length movie.
I mean, it's only
It's so
an hour.
short.
Well, I think to consider it a feature length, it has to be at least 45 minutes.
We always get in a discussion of what counts as a movie. But
Yeah, technically it's 45 minutes.
This is after discussion. It's this is a movie, but I still did not watch it.
I'd
Just
count
you guys are not gonna watch any of some of the movies that I consider movies in here. So
Well,
fine,
if
consider
we had time, I would have watched the Taylor Swift movie. But the thing is, this is a story. This is a
full-fledged story that has a beginning and
you can
middle
be.
and end.
You can be, I guess, experimental. But it's a movie. It's a fan-made movie.
It's
But
done
it's,
well.
It's done
And it
well.
was, yeah, and to what I hear, it was done phenomenal for a YouTube short movie.
It's good compared to some Friday movies.
I was about to say,
It was done well.
if I were to do a ranking video of Friday the 13th, I'd put this in it, and it would be better than
Be
better
better
than
than
75% of them.
Why didn't we do it?
Absolutely.
Marathon?
Well, and that's if we were to do it again. We have never
Right,
had
right,
Part 2.
It would absolutely be better than the first one.
It's better than the first one. Never Hike Alone 1 and 2 is better than Friday the 13th 1. So
Fair. That's honestly fair.
And the
I
fact that it's
still-
able to do that, being a fan film, is impressive in and of itself. If you look at it, this is a continuation from the first movie. The first movie was basically a continuation from the original storyline. No Hollywood studio, I think, is going to really touch that original storyline really ever again. This is the concluding chapter, and I think they defeat Jason in a pretty satisfying way that could end the saga, that would be the original storyline.
I also did really like Never Hike Alone 2. The first one, is good. It does have fan film quality about it. The first one, it's just like, have Jason in it for a bit. It's like a good excuse to make it more atmospheric, more like subtle build up.
Honestly, I still think the first one's
But
better than
it's-
some Friday films.
Yeah, it is still good, but the second one, now we have Tom Matthews. We have the actor that plays the deputy from Part 6. I'm forgetting the character/actor's name. Like, it makes it feel very legitimate. There's a lot of great effects. The acting is good for a horror movie, I guess, and especially good for a fan film.
It's good for any Friday film for me. So
Yeah, and yeah, I the characters are fleshed out, way more fleshed out than most Friday the 13th characters. It's a good conclusion to the saga of the Never Hike trilogy, I guess, but also, a good conclusion to...
Is it trilogy?
There's Never Hike in the Snow,
Yeah,
which
but
is a prequel.
Yeah, but that's only that's not even a feature length.
Yeah,
That's
it's
just-
short, but it's important to the story of this one. Obviously didn't make my top 10, but there were other good horror movies I saw this year. Okay, my 8 is Evil Dead Rise. Yeah, I agree with what Sam said. I think I think this is a better watch in the theaters. I think it is a lot more creepy and atmospheric in a dark theater. Watching it at your house, I think it does come across more humorous, but there are a lot of great shots. I still think about the shot when the little girl's looking out the peephole and all the carnage going out out in the hallway.
That was creative.
And yeah, there's a lot of great kills. I think everyone that turns into a Deadite does great Deadite acting, obviously, especially the mom character.
Yeah.
The conclusion, the final confrontation against the Beast.
That was ridiculous.
2
but
thumbs
awesome.
up. It was great. The character of the main character, even though she could have gotten more like early fleshing out, I think she had a good arc to some. Maybe you wouldn't call it an arc, but like development, sort of realizing what she has to do now. Basically.
She had enough development for you to get behind.
Yeah, like you see what the movie's going for with her, and it accomplishes its goals with her. I like it a lot. I think it does. I think it does merge the wacky with the more grounded tone of the 2013 movie.
Mm-hmm.
I could watch Evil Dead movies till I die. Honestly, I hope they keep coming.
Troy Quinn and Nick Bruno. Those are the directors of this wonderful masterpiece
What is it
that
called?
is Nimona. Nimona is an animated movie that is at Netflix, that came out on Netflix like early on in the year.
Isn't it a sequel to Moana?
I hate you. Shut up. Don't talk. You don't even watch animation movies. Except for Mario for some reason.
Mario was beautifully animated.
This was beautifully animated.
Did you see the
This
water
was-
in Mario? It was like, woo!
The story of this was so heartbreaking and like so beautiful at the same time. It was so great. Just watching Nimona, like,
Did it make you cry?
just yes, it did. It did, because Nimona it's such a weird concept, because you are living in this modern world that still has knights for some reason. That they believe that the monsters outside the walls are evil, and then Nimona comes out and it's like,
No, they're good.
no,
They're misunderstood.
no, yeah, they are misunderstood. But Nimona has been living a life where like people have been treating her like shit, that she becomes the monster that they hate, and she lives with that until she has to change the mind of everybody that she's just a person who well, not really a person, she is a monster. That she has feelings, and like you gotta accept her for who she is, and not the thing that where she comes from or how she looks. Beautiful. It was so beautiful. Oh my god. Oh my god, that movie tore me apart at the end because
You have to change your pants.
Huh?
You have to change your pants.
No, I had to change my fucking eyeballs. I'm fucking crying,
It's
man.
very normal.
So actually, yeah, did this make your
This
top?
did not make my top 10, sadly.
But it
wasn't
is
far
good. It was good.
I actually, yes. I think even with it being a Netflix movie, it looks really good.
It does.
It's very stylized. I liked, there was a conflict there with the boyfriend being, loyal, and the main guy everyone thinks he's a traitor that killed the queen. A very dishonored plot point. It is a great story.
It is.
And it is animated beautifully. I like the setting, that it is a fantasy world, but it's like sci-fi at the same time.
Number 7 is 6. Scream 6.
I was gonna say number 7 is 6. Like, what the fuck does that mean?
I mean, Scream 6 is it's just another great entry into this fantastic horror franchise. Like Evil Dead, it's just, there hasn't been a miss yet. Wait until Scream 7. Who the hell knows what's going on with
Who
that?
knows
And
what's gonna happen?
That's
in
in
Scream 7
shambles
now?
right now. Scream 6 was a lot of fun. I do have some mild issues with it, but it's overshadowed by what it does great.
Mhm.
So I think it's a lot of fun. I think the themes of the horror films and the kind of horror films they're riffing on is done well in the film. It's just a lot of fun. It did surprise me at the end as to who some of the killers were. The fact that there's 3 of them, I think they fleshed out the characters from the previous movie, Scream 5.
Just
a lot,
Scream.
yeah, Scream. I think they did them a lot better. I didn't care for Jenna Ortega's character in the first movie, and she's better in this one. She's not the greatest. And then Sam in the last movie, I didn't care for either. In this film, I really liked her as the lead. I think they really did a lot of good with her. I liked her acting. I liked her character. I liked where they went with her, and I liked how they ended off with her. And she's not coming back for Scream 7, but I think they leave her character off on a good note, which, fine. There doesn't need to be any more development with her character. There's no more
She's
finished. There could be more things explored with her, but there doesn't need to be. Yeah, that's my number 7.
That was this was my introduction to the Scream series, as you guys know. So spoiled myself with this because they do share all the killers from the previous
They
movies.
do.
in
It's
here.
the one film that really talks about all the killers. Focuses on it.
But this movie nonetheless kind of threw me on a loop on who the killer was because it always kept me guessing on who it was, and then the person died, and it's just like, all right, cool. So who is it? Unfortunately, this movie was one that definitely was on my top 3 at the beginning, and then fell off the top 10. This did not make
Did they make your top 10?
My number 7 is Godzilla -1. I'm not exactly like a huge monster movie fan, and I'm not like huge into foreign films either, but this movie does put a lot of focus on the main characters, which, you would think that would distract too much from Godzilla, and he's maybe not in it as much as he would be in some movies. He's definitely in it more than, the 2014? Godzilla, whenever he's in a scene, it's still great. Like, every appearance of Godzilla in this movie is still amazing. The main character, Koichi, I think his name is, his housemate, the kid, his neighbor, his boatmates, just every character is really fleshed out. You understand what they're all about. Like, even if at first you might hate them, you might come around to understand why they are the way they are. It's just a great movie with all these characters that you like, and then Godzilla shows up to fuck their days up, and you're actually sad about it for once.
My number 6 is one movie that both of you never watched. Don't care. Probably will never watch it. Actually, you guys will never watch it. It's Celine Song's Korean film Past Lives. A movie came out in February.
Where the hell did he even hear of this film?
Huh? This is on TikTok. Another movie that made me bawl my eyes out. It's a beautiful story of two like kids who were friends, and then their lives just go different directions, and they grow apart, and then they run upon each other like it's fate, and they realize that they start building up the connection they had
anime?
before. No, it's
Live action?
they build up their connection, and that the movie focuses on that. It's kind of like you see, You Got Mail.
No.
I only did it to get a bug.
we just kept going. The movie.
This movie does sound very cliche, I might add.
but the cliche was very good.
You
It pulls my strings.
I mean,
It pulls the
cliches could
strings.
still be done well.
Yeah, and they pulled
If-
the strings because these people had their own lives before they found each other. They already got, some of them were in relationships, some of them were already like ahead in life, and then they see each other, and it's kind of like something that you know it was missing in your life, but you didn't realize it until you ran across that person, and it was so beautiful. This is a worthwhile movie for anybody who loves romance movies.
My number 6 is you know what? Another horror film. Cause
What a shocker! Another horror film for the horror guy.
It's Talk to Me. I thought Talk to Me was a fantastic
I am
film.
talking to you.
Yeah. I mean, I thought it was a great movie. I was shocked by it. I didn't know what to fully expect. I think A24 did it, right?
It was distributed internationally by A24.
It felt like an A24 film and how creative it was, kind of out there, and it was a heavy thematic film at times. It felt very refreshing, unlike maybe The Exorcist Believer, which was the opposite of that. I just was fully engaged with it. I noticed one of the big complaints about the film was its ending, that it was extraordinarily abrupt and it just cuts off.
Who the hell said that?
It's one of the things I kept reading in the comments, so they didn't like the ending, but I thought it was perfect.
I thought it was a very good ending for that.
I thought the ending was
I think
absolutely
that ending
perfect.
brought it up a few points for me.
It did. I was
Yeah.
like, when it ended, because I just sat in my seat and like it was abrupt, but it was necessary for what they were trying to do. I just sat in my seat, and like, that's it. Oh man, I don't
My
know how I
mindset-
feel inside.
My mindset to the ending went a whole different direction when the final shot. Oh yeah, the final shot.
And you come to that realization.
The realization.
She's part of it now.
Yeah, that was. That did not know that
They,
was
they
gonna
did that so seamlessly, and like I think it worked all the way. I think I was just invested in it from beginning to end. How this hand basically acted like a drug for them, and they were just taking turns holding on to it. But back then, like in my high school days, I feel like I would be one of those morons holding on to that hand.
I was gonna ask, is it now like if
I wanna
that ever
do it
existed,
now.
would you do it?
I don't do no. I got God on my side. I don't need to do that
I
stuff.
don't know. Yeah, I
But
don't know
back in high school, I would totally have grabbed that hand.
My 6 is appropriately enough Scream 6. I feel like pretty much everything has been said about it. I have heard some people I respect on the internet say that the Scream series is stale, that they sort of just keep doing the same thing every time. I think there's only so much you can delineate from the formula before it's just not really Scream anymore. I think they have introduced, especially with this one, enough new elements to make this one of the most interesting entries in the last few. I think this movie, the setting is one thing. The focus on the Carpenter sisters, I think, is great. This movie definitely fleshes them out.
A lot more than the last
In a
one.
way, I think I liked them well enough in the fifth movie. But yeah, this movie definitely cements their bond as well as their conflicts, inner and external. I like the core four. I like all four of them. I don't have an issue. I like having a new Randy, basically. Because even though
I do too.
even though it's not subtle, it's nice when we can do the Scream thing and point out where we are in the timeline and what the movie is trying to do. As Mindy, what's her name?
Mindy.
In the fifth one, she
I
said
actually
where
like Mindy
this
a lot.
she points out it's about requels, and this is the sequel to the requel. It points out a lot of stuff about, well, I guess maybe this is more the last one, but points out people on the internet's reactions to certain movies and
This
what
continues that
characters can and can't die in a sequel. I'm not mad the way things ended, even though, maybe more people could have died, maybe things could have been different.
But that's the point.
Yeah, it is subversive, but it also feels right. These movies aren't meant to be depressing. They're fun.
I don't think it feels bland at all. Like people saying that. There were scenes in this that I actually felt genuine tension. Like that shotgun scene in the supermarket.
Yeah.
That was awesome. I was like on the edge of my seat. I knew they weren't gonna die, but I still had that intensity in me. But that subversion of expectations that goes with these requels.
You never seen.
I mean-
you never seen Ghostface hold a gun in the entire series.
Yeah, no.
And then he's
Well,
like,
he did, but not in the costume.
Yeah, he usually gets the mask off and they're holding a gun. Or
But-
like a pistol.
But that subversion of expectations, they hinted at Ryan Johnson in the last movie, but
Yeah.
like the sequel to Force Awakens is The Last Jedi, and that movie is literally based on the subversion of expectations in the worst possible way. And I think Scream 6 takes that idea and runs with it, and I think that's why they all lived in the end. That's why I was more okay with it. Mindy should have died in that train. Chad should have been killed as well, but that's it. Courtney Cox Gale should have died as well, but that's not the point they were trying to drive home. It's not that they had this plot armor. It's just that, or I guess you could say they did, but it was the point. There was a purpose for them to live. It wasn't just to keep them alive. There's a purpose for them. They were trying to say something, and I think Scream 6 works on that level when you look at it from that perspective. So,
Yeah.
do you have anything more to say?
No.
All right, what's your number 5, Samwise?
Now we're getting to actual business here. These
Yeah.
are serious,
Actually, it is.
These are actually considered, in my taste, the best movies of the year.
Are you at your 10s yet?
Huh?
Are you at 10s? You said
These are my
You
10s.
said you're
These are
before this were they 9s?
yes.
Okay.
These are 10s.
I only saw one movie this year that I would consider a 10, and I don't even consider it a
It's
10 until I see
okay.
the sequel.
I'm very optimistic about movies anyway. Very optimistic.
Interesting to me.
My number 5, we already talked about it. Godzilla -1. He said all the best things about the Godzilla.
This is like one of the most serious.
It's played for serious.
Yeah.
Is there
Yeah.
is there comedy throughout it?
It's kamikazes.
Number 5, because it's a part 1 of part 2, is Mission Impossible 7: Dead Reckoning Part 1. What a long title.
I can't believe you put this Mission Impossible movie so high up.
I think it was great. I
It
thought
didn't
the
even make
action.
your top 10.
No, it's really my top 20. I think it's 21 or 22.
Wow. I thought there was a lot of really great action in this film. I thought the
There
story was
is,
really
but-
good. I like the human villain is basic, but I like the idea of this AI villain. I think it's done mostly well, and I think they could do more in the sequel with that villain. That train scene at the end of them going up and climbing, as that's flying off the edge.
Actually, that's really
I
good.
was just enamored with that entire scene. I was like, holy mackerel, this is freaking crazy.
It is.
It was intense. I've never seen anything quite like it. I thought it was great all throughout.
And all real stunts.
all real stunts. It's a good movie. I think
Yeah.
it does hinge on how well it's concluded. I think it's 5. It would be higher if it had a proper conclusion, but because it's a part 1 of part 2, it has the Deathly Hallows Harry Potter part 1 and part 2 situation going on.
Speaking of action, my number 5 is John Wick Chapter 4. And I'm going to say,
Sinful.
I know that they're mad. The fact that this movie made it this high on my list is impressive, especially it was like so early in the year.
Yeah. I gotta ask you though, before you get started,
That was a good
compared to
pick.
the other John Wick films, where this like, this is the best one?
Yeah, I think so. I honestly think if I'd seen the original John Wick when it came out, like if I went back and looked at all the movies in 2014, I'd be shocked if that made my top 10. I mean, I know this is maybe not the best year for film, but I don't know, man. This movie is just so fun. I didn't get the hype with John Wick. I think I liked the first one. I watched them all. I marathoned them all in preparation for this because they were gonna make me watch it. I didn't think I was gonna like it because I didn't love 2 or 3. Not that any of them are bad movies, but like it just felt redundant. It felt like, okay, we've been through this. We could have just stopped at 1. I think I like this new one because that's not what it's about. It's just like it's an ending. It shows just like I don't know. It shows all of its hand basically. It's like, okay, this is the world as it is. This is where we're at in this franchise. Think something's got to give, and it did. And they pulled out all the stops. Like I guess all I can guess is that they didn't think they were making another one after this. There are just so many amazing action sequences in this movie. It's just back to back to back. There's not
So
a
hard
slow
to-
moment in this.
It's kind of hard to pick which one was the best
Yeah,
action.
The top down scene with the shotgun.
Yeah,
The
that's
Dragon Breath.
Dragon
That's what
Breath.
always comes to mind. It has great character, but not from John Wick, because we know what John Wick's about at this point. We know what we're here to see. He's just here to entertain us. We don't need more conclusion for him. I mean, we do get a conclusion for him, and I like it. And I know they might undo it, whatever. I will be surprised if anything in this franchise ever tops this movie.
Why stop? Because my number 4 is John Wick, Chapter
No,
4.
yo!
Why stop talking about it? It's great. It's one thing to have an action hero in a movie like this, and that especially for 3 hours, you just follow him.
It was that long, yeah.
You follow
feel
the
it.
same action hero for 3 hours, and you probably at one point probably thinking, man, this is getting tiresome to be watching the same guy do the same thing over and over again for 3 hours. But not only is that a big no in John Wick's case, but like you're not just simply getting John Wick, you're getting potential future projects like the Blind Assassin and the Hunter as well with the dog. All I want to see now is for somebody to take on the High Table.
Yeah.
That is the next thing, and we
kind
still
of
have
already
not
did
seen
that
it
to some
because we
extent.
just see like these like minions and the Marquise, the girl from like the representative of the High Table. We get these.
I think that's the only
we
thing.
need the High Table now.
I think that's the only thing, because I know initially it was pitched that there would be one more part to this John Wick franchise that would conclude it, but they decided to wrap it up in the 4th movie, at least for now. I imagined it after the 3rd movie, and like, especially after he falls off the tower and all that, and Morpheus is like, "Are you pissed?" He's like, "I'm pissed," or whatever. I'm like, he's gonna kill every person on the High Table, and we didn't get that. We still got an amazing movie.
I didn't get that from that. I got it better from when they're like, people have been asking if I'm back. Well, I think I'm back.
But like
The first movie.
but you have all these moments in which you're like, he's gonna kill everyone on the High Table and just destroy this underworld. But like we didn't get it. Like I'm not disappointed because we got such a satisfying.
It's a bunch
movie,
of different things.
but it's like
John
I'd
Wick,
like to see that.
John Wick wants to kill the High Table just because they won't leave him alone. Meanwhile, the rest of the assassin organization just wants to destroy the High Table because they're kind of now controlling their lives, which is bad.
Gran Turismo is
Was
number
it
4.
or Mario?
So yeah, Gran Turismo. I thought it was an inspiring story, done very well, directed very well. I thought all the racing scenes were done phenomenally. I love the lead character. I love the coach. I love all the side characters. I think there were some shocking moments that surprised me, including that crash. It killed the one person. I did not expect that at all, and I could only imagine. And they developed that really well, and how he felt about it after that situation, him wanting to quit the sport because of what had occurred.
It got real.
And the coach had to quit it in the past because of a similar situation. It worked for me on nearly every level. It's a true Rocky story. And then the fact that all these racers condemned this racing simulator or whatever they called them, these sim racers, that they weren't real racers, that he had to overcome that. I thought it was done really well. I think it's the biggest surprise of the year, easily. So
yeah,
that's my number 4.
I don't feel as strongly about it. I feel it was really well acted. I think that was my favorite part about it. I think sports movies aren't really my thing, but it definitely, fit that role, and it made you root for the character. David Harbour, always a joy. But
I think this is probably one of his best roles.
he was really good in it. I think he definitely sold it. I know the main character's dad too. He's big in he was in the MCU.
Yeah,
He's been in a lot of other things too, but he's a great actor too. Main character, good actor in this as well.
I think everyone did well.
Yeah, there were some plot points I think you could have skipped past, but I think it was still good. Yeah, it obviously did not make my top 10 by a long shot, but there were definitely likable qualities of this, and sports movies especially are just absolutely not my thing, but I still gave this a positive rating. I liked it. My number 4 is Talk to Me. Yeah, it's just a really interesting deconstruction of grief, how isolating it can be in some cases. It's just like great cinematography.
Wasn't it YouTubers that made the movie?
I was gonna bring that up. So yeah, Raka Raka, Australian YouTubers who have been making basically short films on YouTube for years, somehow were able to put this movie together, and like there are videos of them finding out that maybe not videos, but they're like them talking in interviews about the moment that they found out they were getting distributed by A24 and how emotional they got. It's just so inspiring. Like it, kind of like Gran Turismo, but I think this in a modern day, in a more realistic sense, maybe. It could go either way.
Well, it's not. They're not the only ones now. That Shelby Oaks movie with Chris Stuckman.
Chris Stuckman's. I mean, his is more independently funded. I mean, I guess this was originally. We'll see if Chris Stuckman's gets to take off like this.
I hope so.
I hope so too. But yeah, like this is incredible how well this movie did, especially compared to its budget, and how much thought they put into it. You know, YouTuber movies have a reputation. We got the Smosh movie, we got like the Shane Dawson movies, but this movie just feels like a real movie. You'd never know. Like this movie is directed and acted perfectly, even though
it felt mostly like veterans,
mostly unknown actors, but just everything about it I think is awesome. It feels like these characters feel like real people, and maybe that could be credited to the small scale of it. Just everything about it I love. I love the characters. I love a lot of the interactions. I love the visuals, like look at the demon, or not, just the spirits even. The idea of the hand, the mysterious lore behind it, the fact that this movie was made the way that it was, and they didn't compromise their vision. They had offers by bigger studios if they changed things, and they said, no, we're keeping this the way we want it.
That's interesting.
And now they get to make sequels based on the thing that they love. And
are they sticking with the sequel themselves?
I think they're going to stick to this franchise as long as they can, which I think they deserve. I think,
good for them.
Like, yeah, normally it's like eye roll sequel thing, but like this
there's gonna be a passion.
This feels like something that could be expanded on. But even if they didn't, this is a great standalone movie with heavy themes, while still, you know, dealing with very relatable, like down to earth things. The comparison of the hand being a drug and basically ruining the life even more so for the main character, who's already, you know, dealing with heavy grief. It's a very obvious parallel to the real world. You know, those in grief are more likely to be sucked into vices like that, and it's just I know Sam was complaining about the rules thing. It's so believable to me that the main character would surpass the time limit because she believes she's talking to her mother.
Yeah.
And everything she does after that makes you so sad for both her and the characters overall, just because it makes sense what's happening, but it also, you don't want to see what you know is coming happen to everyone. And that ending is very brutal, but it's also just very effective and communicates what it's trying to do very succinctly. Great movie. I don't know, best horror movie of the year in my opinion.
Samwise, what is your top three? Number 3.
We have to get serious. We have to.
Did you say that number 5?
We have to get more serious. We have to go
maximum
drama
serious.
now. We have to go into the drama now. Because this one was.
Wait. He still hasn't brought it up yet.
Oh no.
Oh no.
I think we're here.
The cast in this movie was like very impressive. Like this,
Is he trolling?
Explosive.
Wait! Are you kidding me? We're at 3. You still haven't brought it up yet.
Oh.
I think he's trolling.
I think he's trolling.
Like this was great.
Like he would have said.
What year did it come out?
It came out in 2023. What do you mean?
What genre?
Movie.
Some might put it in drama, I guess.
Or some.
Some.
Is there singing in it?
It's the Taylor Swift movie, y'all! Number 3, Taylor Swift, the air, the
You don't even know what it's called.
the Era
Last
Tour.
Air
You're not a
Airbender.
proper
I was-
Swiftie.
I was about to call it
Airbender.
the World Era Tour, but it's the Era Tour. It was incredible because I love Taylor Swift and I was not able to go to the concert.
Damn,
So,
I never
having-
would guess.
So having to sit and watch just like the explanation of like how the tour came to be and the journey across America, and obviously this was the biggest tour that she has ever done, and not to mention one of the biggest tours that this country has ever seen. Somehow I personally think that they capture some of the magic from like the concerts into this movie because it's such a great experience. This movie was great. It's just basically watching a concert.
When you were in the theater and there like a slow song came on, did you do one of these? Did you
Did you pull it in?
Did everyone in the theater start doing?
Did people
they started
dance?
doing the circle. They started doing
They
the circle.
they did the cult circle.
They did the cold circle. Taylor Swift, number 3. Forget it, man. It is
I've already
the
forgotten.
best experience.
But number 3 movie is
Taylor Swift.
Evil Dead Rise.
Sure.
I liked it.
Who would have thought another horror movie? For
Another
the movie guy.
horror. It's the last horror film on my list. I just think it's a really good movie. I think it's. I love the Evil Dead franchise. I dig it. I dig all of them, and I think they're just a massive blast from beginning to end. And this one is no different from the other ones. I had high expectations for it. They were met. It's just if you like Evil Dead movies, you'll like this one. If you don't like Evil Dead movies, you won't like this one. But I think it works. It keeps the possession demonic genre fresh. There's nothing stale about it. It's violent, it's funny, it has some fun characters, some great performances, really well directed. It's really all I gotta say about that.
My number 3. Have we talked about any comic book movies yet?
Not yet.
Other than The Flash, which is everyone's number 1.
Yeah.
Not yet though, not yet. Are you gonna
Alright, my
one?
number 3 is Guardians of the Galaxy Part 3.
That's coming.
That was a tough battle. Remember how I said that was a tough
It's
battle?
my
That
number.
was my 11.
You fuck. My number. My.
What?
That was my
What?
11.
That took a couple of seconds to compute. You're done.
Remember how I was saying that
Get over
number 10
there.
was hard? I get, like I said at the beginning, I made Blue Beetle my 10 just
How
out
is
of
Taylor Swift a better movie than Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3? I've had to do some self-reflection. I've had to realize I really like all 3 of the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. And for the longest time, I thought Guardians 2 was my favorite MCU movie. And to some extent, it's still one of, if not my favorite. But I think part of me deep down knows this movie might be a little bit better. Guardians of the Galaxy 2 has some themes, has some moments in it that I just think are like untouchable. But this movie just overall is just such a solid package. It's really funny, it's really enjoyable, it's really dramatic and like emotional. This Rocket just carries the fuck out of this movie. He's been a great character in every MCU movie he's been in. But he's basically the main character of this movie, and it just shines through. Makes him a more complex character than he's ever been before, and it makes him more complex in retrospect. Like, you always know something's going on deep down, but this movie just shows you just how much is underneath the surface.
I kind of always ignored it in the previous movies because I'm like, they'll never touch on it because it's, it's Marvel. I never thought they would go that deep, but the fact they did is...
Yeah,
and
he's
they
a
did it
really
well.
tragic character who just gets so much time to shine in this movie. I love every member of the Guardians crew. Like, even...
Who's the weakest? If you had to say if there's a weakest. And is Nebula counted?
I was gonna say
Not
Nebula, but
really.
I think in the last few entries for her, she's just improved, so...
physically. I mean, she has
Oh,
nano.
not
she
the
has nano.
I
I'm
mean,
not talking about the weakest, but like...
Are we...
Not talking about strength weakest. I'm talking
Are
about,
we, are we including Mantis? Because I'd probably say Mantis, sadly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd count Mantis.
I still love
I agree.
Mantis. Mantis is great in this movie and in the holiday special. Her and Drax together, I don't care.
I think
Her and Drax,
after the
their comedic duo some of the funniest moments in the more recent Guardians entries.
Did James Gunn do the holiday special?
Yeah,
That's cool.
I
It
think
was
so.
great.
Yeah, I just love all these characters. Obviously, Star-Lord kind of gets put in the back seat in this movie. He's a bit more serious and dour. He doesn't have as many funny moments, except for the
But it makes sense for the character.
yeah, it makes sense for the character. But there's the infamous F-bomb car door scene, which is one of the funniest
It did catch you
out
off
of
guard.
left field funniest moments in MCU history. Maybe it's so fucking good.
There's so
And yeah, like
wow.
it's just crazy how this movie can balance so many plates. I thought Guardians 2 did it better. This movie has maybe not as just about as good dramatic scenes as the second movie, and probably more funny scenes than the second movie. More scenes that I personally found funny. Like the second movie has a lot of funny scenes. It has a few misses, but I'm willing to overlook it. I think this is one of the best superhero trilogies of all times, if you can even consider that. Just comic book trilogies.
It's definitely true. Other than the fact that you kind of have to watch Infinity War, it's a pretty cohesive trilogy.
Yeah.
Just
the
because
Gamora
Gamora
aspect could maybe for newcomers like drag it down, but I think this movie does such a good job with that.
I forgot again. How the hell is there Gamora?
Oh, timeline.
In what movie?
In
Did that?
Endgame, Thanos, Gamora, and Nebula from an alternate timeline came in. They followed when they were messing around with the time stones to steal one of the time stones from Star-Lord.
It's like, who's Time Lord?
At the beginning of Guardians 1, they stole a time stone from that, and Thanos noticed that, so him, Gamora, and Nebula followed them into the main timeline, and that's why Thanos was still the main villain at the end of Endgame, even though he died at the start.
So let me just get this straight. If you want to make complete sense of this trilogy, all you have to do is really watch is the Infinity War saga, the 2 movies.
Yeah.
That's it. Okay. Just making sure, because
I mean,
I'd
it's
like to
still-
watch this again.
it
I
is-
would add that
It
part
is
of it.
still a big ask, but
It is. And it's I think
literally
it's the only
every
gripe.
movie in that is good.
Yeah, it is. But I think that'd be my only gripe, because if you want to watch a
It's
straight
not-
trilogy, you have to watch 2 other movies to make
It's
sense.
not
of the
anyone's
trilogy.
fault from this movie, and without the
No,
MCU,
without a doubt, no.
without the MCU, these movies never would have existed.
No.
Nobody would have greenlit Guardians of the Galaxy. Nobody knew who these characters were a few years ago.
Perhaps like James Gunn, maybe you could do that with DC.
James Gunn is a great filmmaker. He's really
Great mind.
funny. He's got great direction talent, great writing talent. I do hope he can continue with the DCU to make
I
things
think
great.
he
I
could.
hope
I
one
think
day
he could.
maybe he'll come back to the MCU. Maybe for one or
that's
2
not-
movies.
I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon.
We'll see how DC.
Well, all
pans
right.
out.
If DC is moderately successful, he's not coming back.
We'll see. Never say never.
That's true.
This movie didn't feel the need to sequel bait the fuck out of everything. This felt like a great ending for
Yeah,
the Guardians movies.
it
It
was
didn't feel the
inclusive.
need to like unnecessarily just like be like everyone dies at the end. It doesn't feel the need to be like overly dramatic.
Even though we'll see them again.
We'll see. It's left ambiguous.
At the end of the movie,
Sam, I know. I know. But it's left in a way that they could go either way.
It's a proper ending. If you want to take it out of the Marvel universe, you for the most part can, and just watch it as its own.
And
And
standalone.
even if any of these characters show up, here and there, they're probably not going to show up as a full team again, at least for another like decade or 2. Unless the MCU money buckets go dry like within the next couple of years,
Which could happen.
which could happen.
it could happen.
Do Samwise 2.
Speaking of comedies,
Oh shit.
Oppenheimer.
Again with the subversion.
I think I rate this really high just because aesthetically it's so pleasing to watch this movie. As not to mention that like these are so well developed like characters and well written like stories. But it is probably too long for a lot of people to enjoy, especially for a drama. like there has to be some things happening besides just like giant explosion at the end for people to keep it entertained. But I thought this movie was really good to watch. Just having the discussion about the creation and the dangers of building such a powerful device, such as a powerful weapon. And I couldn't ask for a better casting than these guys. Like this was great.
Okay, with that, can we skip your number 2 for a second?
Sure, take it.
My number 2 is Oppenheimer. I don't know why the hell Sam thought it wasn't, but I think the cast of this is huge. Everyone does a pretty good job, and the only complaint, which isn't really a complaint, is like there's so many people. It's hard to keep track of everyone. But it's already a 3-hour movie. It's like, what do we spend like an hour, like 20 minutes on each character trying to establish their whole thing? I think when they do a good job, like flashing back and reminding you who everyone is and how they fit into the puzzle, and it's impressive that a movie this long can keep your attention as long as it does and make you invested in as many characters as it does, and it portrays it in a way that's almost from Oppenheimer's perspective. Like the wife is sort of seen as kind of not a great person and like kind of shitty, but that's, you can interpret that as being like, well, we're seeing this from Oppenheimer's perspective, so obviously the way he saw things probably wouldn't be the same as the way she saw things. It's just a really interesting movie. It's a good think piece, and even without that, it's just good, a good history lesson, I think, to some extent, and it has a lot of great philosophical ideas. I don't know. I liked it.
Guardians of the Galaxy 3 is my number 2, and
How is it higher for you than it is for me? That's crazy.
Wow.
well,
The
No,
horror movie,
I
it's an
am-
action movie.
I am not a Marvel fan, like at all.
He hates everything.
We
that is
never
fun.
guess.
Yeah, but
He much prefers
the
the Flash.
only Marvel movie I ever saw multiple times in theater was the opening weekend of Guardians of the Galaxy, the first one. My cousin and I, we were in Atlantic City, and it was in the IMAX theater. We saw it together, and we were just absolutely blown away by it. And then the next day, we saw it again. We loved it. So we saw it back-to-back days, and I thought it's probably top 20 favorite films of all time, the first one. The second one, really great movie. And then the third one, high hopes for it. James Gunn is back in the director's seat, and it delivered on every front I wanted to. It was dark. Even the villain. We didn't talk about the villain much.
Yeah, he deserved to be talked about.
The villain is very one note, but it's a perfectly done one note villain. It is a villain that you want to see defeated and destroyed.
I've not
So
found somebody
bad.
more I hated.
Yeah, like you hate him so much. It's not like Thanos, who's this complex character. He's not all that complex. He has some levels to him, but he's just a straight up evil villain, and he's perfect for what this movie's asking.
That's actually crazy because we actually never did a dive on his character or learned about his past. Like
Evolutionary.
Yeah, with like most villains.
I mean,
we
he's
do.
not meant to be humanized. He's
Yeah,
a
he's,
bad-
No, exactly.
He's just,
we hate him.
He's the epitome of
he
evil.
just thinks he should be a god.
It just everything worked. The action scenes, that hallway scene towards the end of the film was freaking awesome.
Best,
Do you
one
remember
of the
the name
best
of the song?
MCU action scenes.
Like
You
it.
know
it-
the
it's-
name of the song that they used for that?
Which one was that? I
The
know.
first-
I don't remember.
No, I just want to know because that was sick. That track combination was sick.
The soundtrack for all these movies is good. If somehow people don't know, all the soundtracks for these movies are great.
The only gripe I had was the fact that you had to watch the Infinity War movies, because I honestly had forgotten Endgame and all that, the revelations that occurred with that. So I was watching it. I knew that Gamora had come back. I didn't know how or why, so I was kind of lost. But the movie didn't make you feel like you needed to watch it. You just had to have knowledge of her coming back, so it kind of makes sense for me. But the movie still worked, even though I didn't really understand it. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of good comedy, a lot of great drama, a lot of great action. It was everything I wanted in this film for a final chapter, and it ends on when Peter Quill survived in the end, which I'm like, oh no, they're killing him off. I'm like, that sucks because I heard that they are going to kill people off, and normally I'd be disappointed. I'm like, oh, they didn't pull the trigger on it, but it was a very proper ending for this franchise, for this trilogy. The main Guardians didn't die.
Every character, like, spoilers, even though none of the main characters died, it's like all of them had a conclusion to what they've been working towards.
Yep,
Everyone
it worked
ended up where they should be. And none of them are anywhere near where they started when they were introduced.
I think
it's beautiful.
If the cheesy ending somehow Peter got Gamora again.
No, yeah,
I would have hated that.
That would have been bad.
I would have been like, oh, that's nice, but then it would have sat with me, and I would be like, no, it doesn't work like that.
It's so much smarter, so much more
realistic, and yeah.
It sucks that's the way things worked out for
but it's just
him
sometimes
and
how
Gamora,
it is.
But yeah, and that's how I think this is. Even though this isn't a multiverse movie, this is the sort of situation I think multiverse can have, where there are versions of characters interacting that just are not the same as you remember them.
But
I think it can be done in an interesting way.
Yeah, let's move on
Right,
to our honorable mentions before we hit to number one.
The honorable mentions from me were gonna be movies that we already talked about. Obviously my number 11, Guardians of the Galaxy. That was obviously it needed to be mentioned in this list, but you guys had it in your top 10, so it was worth. And again, selfish. It was selfish of me to put Beetle over Guardians, but I just wanted to put Blue Beetle in my top 10 because I like that better.
Yeah.
Taylor Swift is better than Scream 6.
Yes. Speaking of Scream 6, that's my second honorable mention.
I know.
As for the movie, just fell off not because it's bad. It's just there were better movies that again just came out on top. Godzilla came out like a couple weeks ago, and that got in there. I had to knock it out. I was not gonna knock out Blue Beetle.
I won't blame Godzilla.
And then obviously there's one that now we haven't talked about animation in a while, and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was actually pretty sick. The animation was pretty decent. It was very unique, I gotta say. If you guys have seen
I've seen it. It's good.
The animation is pretty.
I mean,
cool.
It's very like the Puss in Boots movie. It's very inspired by Spider-Man, but.
So those I just wanted to mention those three.
So I'm gonna breeze through these because I have a little more than that.
You said 3 or 5, so I made 3.
So you know what? I watched one yesterday. No Hard Feelings. I thought that was a lot of fun, and you know that.
Just watched that.
Yeah, Mel wanted to watch it, and I'm
yesterday.
like, yeah, I just watched it yesterday. And Mel wanted to watch it. I'm like, all right.
I don't know if it deserves honorable mention.
I guess because it's just new in my mind.
I mean, it's probably the only like rom-com I watched this year, and it was okay.
Yeah, it was funny. I had some good laughs at it. It was fun. Infinity Pool.
That's an honorable mention.
That's an honorable mention.
Dude, I was utterly shocked. Did you see that movie?
I did.
I was utterly shocked and just like I couldn't believe what I was watching. Like, it was a good movie, but it was just I thought it fell off.
There is an honorable mention about it. It's so fucking weird.
Yeah, I thought
weird.
It's one of those movies. The first half was superior than the second half. The second half falls off. It gets too crazy for me.
So fucking confused. What is it supposed to be saying?
My next one is.
Yeah, what?
My next one is one we just watched right before filming this, and that is When Evil Lurks. Good movie. Shocking. I mean, they kill kids like it's
really?
like.
Bro, I still that's the kid got me.
Like I have to talk about that one just simply like it's a Spanish horror film, Argentinian horror film that's making rounds. You gotta talk about it. Like it was artistically done, a lot of really neat lore. I like the way the story's set up. Oh man, that dog scene, man, with that kid. Holy mackerel, man!
So I already knew it was coming. It was still just like
holy mackerel.
It's just another thing to see it in motion.
Another one, Strays. I love dog movies. I thought some of the dog jokes were really funny. I dug it. It's my kind of movie.
Get it? Dug it?
Yeah, I dug it.
Dog it. Get the fuck out of my house.
The freaky Scream-esque kind of movie, Totally Killer.
Oh my god.
I enjoyed Totally Killer. It's the Did
Why
you see
is
that
that
one?
I did.
50
I thought it was a
one-
lot of fun.
Sam
50
hates it.
50
I
plus
think it's
movies.
okay.
That's an honorable mention.
I
You tell-
had a good time with it. Again, I watched it with Mel and she liked it, so
I-
I tend to like it a little.
I liked
more
the
of it.
mechanics of it. I think there were just a lot of jokes that did not land, sadly.
Fair enough, but I like the
I
weird
think that-
80s. I thought the 80s characters were a lot of fun, although maybe
Yeah.
unrealistic and not relatable, but they were just fun.
I think just 90% of the jokes were the same joke of, what? I'm a character from 2023 in 1980? That's not politically correct.
Yeah, that stuff did a little.
It
annoying.
was funny once or twice. They did it too many times.
Yeah.
She should have caught on to, oh yeah, I'm in the 80s.
Yep.
Why do you keep getting surprised by this?
Then we got the new past November film, Thanksgiving, Eli Ross Thanksgiving. I thought that was a pretty solid slasher film. Some really good kills, a pretty good character, average characters, nothing great. It's a slasher movie. I'm looking forward to the sequel because it was announced. And my number 11 that just missed it, Jesus Revolution. I thought that was a pretty solid film of a movement that I didn't really know. A pretty interesting story that I didn't know about it that I actually looked up afterward. It was pretty spot on of all that occurred.
That's your number 11.
It was done well. It was done really well. I was actually surprised with how it went about, and it was rather interesting because when you think of hippies and conservative Christians, they don't really mesh too well, and it really shows how it all blended into one and how it started a movement. But that's my honorable mentions.
You have honorable mentions?
I'll try to mention some that have not been talked about. A lot of things that I enjoyed have already been mentioned, either in top 10s or in other honorable mentions. Last Voyage of the Demeter, surprisingly enjoyable vampire
Yes.
Dracula movie.
Yep. I didn't bring
It
that
was
up.
pretty
I almost
simple, but for what they were going for, it was pretty. Characters were likable. It was foreboding, interesting, even though you know how things are going to
did. The
turn out.
production design was really cool.
Yeah, it's a good looking movie. I mean, I don't need to say this to anyone who would ever watch this. I know maybe I'll get some eye rolls. I very much enjoyed the Barbie movie. I thought it was actually one of the funniest movies I saw this year. So many jokes landed. Maybe the message wasn't for me, but I still respected it for what it was going for. I thought this movie was a lot of fun. Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves. I know a lot of people may not have seen it. I like it a lot.
Ooh,
As
talking about that soon enough.
a frequent Dungeons and Dragons enjoyer, I feel like it captured the spirit of playing with your friends, of arguments, of
I don't know. That made me
strange
chuckle.
conflicts.
Arguments.
I mean, there are plenty of moments where the characters are disagreeing, and it feels like a D&D campaign, and it feels even, but even with it, without that context, it feels like, to me, it still feels like a real movie. It feels like a fantasy movie that could work without that context, but knowing the source material, knowing what they're referencing, I think it works really well, and I think it's funny. I think there are a lot of really funny scenes in it too. I can just mention No One Will Save You. You watched that, right?
Yeah.
You know. Oh yes.
Yes.
Weird fucking movie.
Towards
the end,
little bit
But
experimental.
I will praise for how.
Did you like the ending?
Yeah. I
It's a
love the
straight-to-streaming
direction
movie.
they went with this movie.
Yeah.
First of all, and the silent movie, love it. I love that it was a silent
Cool.
movie.
Cool. I like it.
Yeah,
I like
how
it.
much-
That
let me
was
more specific.
interesting.
Let me
How
more
much
specific.
did
It's
to
not a silent
portray
movie.
without really much dialogue?
And she got spit on.
Yeah.
And a lot was said just by
The
just
aliens.
using no dialogue.
Yeah.
You know what? I like the classic design of the aliens.
Yeah. It's a cool looking movie. Just a lot of fun.
I just think the ending I'm just mixed on.
I like the ending.
I
At first, I didn't like it, but when I think about it, I'm like,
yeah, like at first, yeah, I
You
think
gotta really
at
think
first,
about
but
it.
I'm like,
You
I
gotta
feel
really,
like there's a more satisfying ending.
you
that could have
gotta really think about the ending, how it just circles back to her at the beginning.
yeah. I could look at it more symbolically, because that's sort of like when I'm not like in the movie when I'm looking at it as a whole, I think of it more symbolically, where it's her overcoming what happened to her when she was younger, and how everyone reacted to that. Just, it's worth checking out. It's not a super long movie.
One more thing, I just want to mention Super Mario movie. Thought it was a lot of good time.
It is.
But I didn't
It is
mention
a good
it.
time.
I enjoyed it enough.
I just
I
thought there
enjoyed it enough. It's just not top 10 material, but I enjoyed it.
There are two things that really pushed it back for me because it got an 8 out of 10. 8.5 basically made my top 10.
The rap.
Oh, what?
The rap.
All right, three things.
We're the Mario Brothers.
What? That was great.
Wait. The Mario Brothers. No, I didn't like the. No, that was fine.
That was great.
The Bowser scene. I just don't like singing in
That
movies.
was also great.
That's just me. I don't like singing in movies.
What is that? What is the word?
But
Magnus.
It could have still.
What are you trying to say?
What is that word? Magnus.
Magnum opus.
That's Jack Black.
But that's I didn't think about that because like it's fine, whatever. That's in the movie, whatever. It was the music choices. It's like you have a Mario movie with iconic music, and you have the music choices. Like
hard agree. I love Take on Me. Don't put in a Mario movie.
Yeah, and then it felt like they skipped like the Mario games. It's all about the journey. It felt like they went from they montaged through all these different worlds that I was hoping to explore to get to this DK world. And I felt like the DK world should have been used for the sequel, and then kept DK out and just kept it just straight up a Mario adventure. And I don't know. I just felt like that like they montaged through it, and they left a lot of things out that I wanted to see.
I don't know. Maybe I'm overthinking this, but I feel. Do you see that since the beginning when they first got to Donkey Kong? To the point where they were going to go see Bowser, it was quite literally just the evolution of the Mario games all the way till like the 3D animation when they're fighting Bowser, where it's just like 2D Mario fighting Bowser, like Mario fighting Donkey Kong.
Too much TikTok. What are you talking about?
I don't know.
This is not even TikTok. This is just me thinking about this.
Maybe you took shrooms before you watched it. I don't know.
Probably.
Let's move on to our number ones. My number one is John Wick, Chapter 4. I had absolute blast with this movie. It's everything that I wanted from a John Wick or an action film. I think it's a modern day action masterpiece from beginning to end. The world that was explored, the characters that are introduced, the action that we see, it's glorious beginning to end. Everything was great about this film. There's some obviously unbelievability to it, but I mean, like, that's every single film. That's every single film across the board. I mean, it's a great movie. I loved it. I'll watch it again and again and again. I don't know if it's my favorite John Wick film because I think, like you, I might have that. You like Guardians 2. I like John Wick 2. Although I think John Wick 4 is a better film, I'm latching on to that John Wick 2. But I think all the movies in the franchise are great. I think the third one's the weakest of the bunch. But I think it's just one continuous saga, this adventure of this man going from point A to point B to point C to point D, and then concluding with his the end. So, but yeah, that's my number one of 2023 John Wick Chapter 4. We'll see what's next year. Take it away. What's your number one, guys?
Well, my number one's Fast X. What are you talking about?
I can't believe you put this. I can't believe Obviously,
Fast X.
Spider-Man!
Across the Spider-Verse.
Into the Spider-Verse.
The superior...
Wait, what's the third one?
Superior movie.
Beyond the Spider-Verse.
Oh.
The superior movie. And everything. Story, animation, characters, side characters.
I don't know. Everything we say about this movie, I'm gonna say...
It's great. But it's so tragic to, like, having Miguel, like, being the villain when he was just trying to live a happy life and realizing that he's part of a system that will not let him have a happy life because doesn't matter what, he has to have a tragedy. Like, it is what they call a canon event.
I think there are some, maybe more silly parts of this movie, and the ending is left ambiguous. Well, this is what I meant. I think seeing how all of these plot points wrap up will decide whether or not this movie's a 10 out of 10 from me.
So if the next movie's poor, this movie's
if
gonna
the next movie,
decrease?
even if the next, like, this is like an Empire Strikes Back situation, even though,
Force Awakens, I'd say more. 'Cause I think Force Awakens
no,
set up against.
shut up. Even though Return of the Jedi is not my favorite of the trilogy, all of the things that The Empire Strikes Back sets up are paid off pretty well by Return of the Jedi. So I think Empire Strikes Back is a 10 out of 10. This movie sets up a lot of things. If maybe a few of them are fumbled in the sequel, it might make this movie seem a little bit not as good. Which, yeah, that does tie back to Force Awakens, or more so Force Awakens and The Last Jedi, where Rise of Skywalker makes me view those movies slightly less highly than I once did. But that's for example's sake. But even without that, this movie, like, I had my reservations. Part of me felt like I should probably give Guardians 3 or Oppenheimer the top spot because they're complete stories. They're the ending. They're self-contained, and I already know how things are going. I don't have to guess. But they both have, like, at least slight flaws. This movie, in my opinion, is entertaining and engaging and interesting and emotionally resonant the entire way through, and I cannot really argue with my own feelings about that, so it's kind of by default the best movie of the year for me. The movie I enjoyed the most this year. And none of it's really ironic. The jokes are funny, characters are likable. There are, even with some story arcs not concluded, like Gwen's arc is sort of concluded in this movie, and it is beautiful.
She's dead.
Different timeline.
Definitely not.
And also, visuals, needless to say, the first movie
Every
pioneered...
Spider-Man, or at least most Spider-Mans, have a different animation style.
Pioneered a new style of American animation. This movie continues that. This movie looks great. Every frame painting, basically. This movie is something else. I don't know what else to say. I just...
One question.
Everything.
Is this the best Spider-Man film?
Probably.
I think Into the Spider-Verse currently is the best. Across the Spider-Verse has the potential to be better if its storylines are concluded well.
So these two animated films are both better than any live-action movie.
In my opinion, yes.
Yes.
And we're not the only ones that feel that way.
No, I know that. I know that. I was just asking you.
Because, yes, we have favorite Spider-Mans, but, like, Spider-Man movies, this came out at left field.
Wait, is Peter Parker in these movies?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's not the main character, but he's
He's
in
not the
them.
main character.
Is he like an important side character, or is he
Yeah.
just in it for a few minutes?
I mean, he's more important in Into the Spider-Verse than in this one, but he's still in both of them.
You got Peter Parker, you got Peter P. Parker,
Scarlet?
you got Peter Porker, you got Penny Parker.
Yeah, the Scarlet Spider?
You got
The Scarlet Spider?
you got Peter
0
Parker
to 0.
Guys, can't wait for Madam Web.
Madam Web.
What? So wait.
I'm actually excited.
We fully derailed it.
Wait, I gotta ask, Madam Web, is she gonna be playing any parts in this? Like,
I don't know.
I hope not.
The whole thing is that Madam Web is the creator or something, I guess, of the.
Not exactly.
I'm not.
'cause I heard that
She
she's
plays
gonna
a
be
big
like,
part.
she's gonna reference or talk about something into the Spider-Verse. I could be wrong, but
I was telling him.
she's gonna acknowledge its existence.
I was telling him that when the trailer came out, and I came in really excited about it because this is just one more step closer to a live action of Into the Spider-Verse.
But why would you need it if it's so?
That's what I'm saying.
The cartoon is so impactful.
We already
I
have
know,
a good
the
version.
cartoon-
I don't like cartoons, but like
I
that's
just
the
want
point.
to. I just want to see a live action, just to see a live action.
It's not gonna be as good.
I wasn't as big on the Venom shop scene.
The Venom shot scene was.
Oh,
weird.
speaking of which, though, the villain, the Spot, well, one of the villains, I already talked about Miguel.
Yeah.
But the Spot, surprisingly, one of the best Spider-Man villains somehow.
Is that actually based on the comic book?
He is a comic book
Yeah, but-
character who is usually kind of
just gag
underwhelming. He's not like he's obviously on an A-list villain.
So he took a basic villain and made him pretty cool.
That's sort of the joke. Is like he's at first seems very non-threatening.
Spot. What's his power?
He can make mini portals where he can just sort of transport parts of his body like around a certain space.
That sounds sexual.
I don't know what else could be said about this movie.
No, it's
I mean, like all of it's good.
Fantastic movie, superior than all the movies Pat mentioned. So way superior. I would say that.
It's not even most. I'm done.
We'll make Pat watch it, and he's gonna like it.
We'll force him to watch it.
It's probably better than No Way Home.
Even if he thought the animation style was bad the entire time, which I feel like you might change your mind at some point. It's still a good story. Like
maybe it's probably a better story than No Way Home.
It's
It's because you're not Hispanic.
better story. Yeah, like objectively, it's a better story than like the Amazing Spider-Man movies.
No, Amazing Spider-Man 2 was epic. I loved it.
He's trolling.
No, I did love it.
I hate you.
You have
He
the
is
hand
true.
with the web coming down, grabbing Gwen, breaks her back.
Terrible movie.
Snap like a kid
That was
car,
such a
man.
shocking moment. If you didn't see the going, now you're like, oh!
Everyone saw it coming.
Why?
When Stacy is the Spider-Man girlfriend that dies. That happened 40 years ago.
Well, guess what? I don't read comics. I had no idea.
Everyone knew.
I had no idea. And I thought the blue guy was pretty cool.
Except for in
He
Spider-Man.
wasn't.
Except for in Spider-Man.
Everyone knows this.
Except for
He wasn't cool until No Way Home.
All right, so that's our top 10.
the worst movie. I'm going to talk about one. The worst movie in the entire year, possibly for like the next 20 years.
Okay, skip that one and go to the next one. I already
Why
know.
skip that
Because
one? You
Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey does not even deserve a spot.
He said pick and talk about whichever movie you want.
Except
I
that
am going to talk about
Because it's
fucking
so obvious.
Winnie the Pooh.
I'm not even talking about it.
It is dumb. It is so fucking dumb.
Are you gonna watch the sequel with me?
Yes, absolutely.